Is there anything that you'd like to say before we get started tonight?
Well, I'd just like to say, thank you to everybody that's, watching right now, and for everybody that's been supportive of me, this last year, for everybody that knows about my story up to this point, what I've been through and everything. I just want to tell everybody I appreciate it. And, I love you guys.
Right on. Okay. Well, as it stands, we have 35 minutes until our signal gets cut. So let's get into it, man. Why don't you tell us what it was like growing up?
I had like a pretty normal childhood, I would say. I grew up, with my mom and my dad, and my mom and dad did get divorced when I was like 11 years old. But up until that point, pretty good childhood. Played sports and didn't really have anything crazy happen as a child. Everything was cool. And I grew up playing sports. And then I'd say when my parents got divorced, around in that time was sort of a pivotal time for me. I met different people, and that was kind of when I first started dabbling with, weed and alcohol and stuff like that. Around, I'd say, I think the first time I smoked, I was like 13, 14, something like that.
And it's crazy. It's crazy. Everybody that I talk to, it's like the vast majority of people, it's between 11 and 13 is their first time. So yeah, that's crazy. Was there any drinking at home?
No, I mean, my dad drank a little bit, he didn't really drink a whole lot, at home. And so I didn't see it a whole lot. I know he did do it, but it wasn't something that I was witness to a whole lot, so no, my mom never drank at all. So that wasn't really anything I really ever witnessed, so I didn't have that. I don't know.
So were you seeking it out? When you were young, were you I can't wait to get loaded? And was it the first time you could possibly get your hands on it, or was it just a thing of convenience?
It's kind of the opposite, man. I was against it, not against it. I hated people who did or anything, but I was just I was an athlete. I played baseball and I was pretty good. And, I took it all seriously, and I didn't, it just wasn't something I ever really saw myself getting into. But then, I met a person, it was actually my stepbrother. And he was a little bit older than me, and, he was, not to blame anything on anybody, but you have certain people who pop up in your life who were bad influences. I was 12 and he was 15, and I kind of looked at him like he was cool. And even at first, I'd hang around with him and his friends and stuff, and they would be smoking weed and doing their thing, and I didn't. I was always scared of it. I was oh no, I could never do that. But eventually, my curiosity just got the best of me. And one day I was just I asked him, and he was at first he was kind of kind of hesitant, leery of it. He wasn't trying to peer pressure me or nothing like that. It was something I chose to do on my own, And it was just kind of a weekend, on weekends. I think everybody probably starts out like that, on the weekends. And, and I actually hid it from my friends. My friends, I remember being in maybe 7th, 8th, and 9th grade. And only me and one of my buddies smoked at that time. So we were hiding it from all of our other friends. And, but then, we hit high school and it was yeah, we've been doing this, It was kind of fun.
It's old already. So how long was it from the first time that you started using till the time that it started to impact your life? Did you graduate?
No, I didn't graduate high school. I would say, if I'm really being honest with myself, I would have to say almost immediately. Because once I started smoking and hanging out with a different crowd of people, and I kind of stopped. I lost motivation, for my sports. I was a really good baseball player. Really probably could have went somewhere with that. And I don't know. I just completely lost motivation to do anything like that. I just wanted to hang out with my friends and smoke weed. And I played football, baseball, basketball. I golfed. I did all that stuff growing up, and I just lost motivation to do any of that anymore, and just wanted to just hang out with my friends. And, then I started getting in trouble at school. I kind of always got in trouble, sort of a class clown, growing up, but it was never anything really crazy. But then once I got to high school, I got in with weed and fighting and stuff and getting expelled. And, it just kept snowballing, and I didn't, I know my mom and my family and different people that I had tried to, make a difference or do something about it. But, when it came down to it, it couldn't do nothing to stop me at that time. I was 15, 16 years old, and I made my mind up I thought I made my mind up what I thought I wanted to do,
So looking back now, would you say, is there anything that your parents or any of your family could have said or done to have prepared you for your first experiences with substances? Is there anything they could have said to maybe steer you in a different direction?
No, I don't think so. First of all, my addiction and everything that it went from 0 to 100 pretty quickly. I went from, in high school and stuff like that. I didn't even drink or anything. I smoked weed, that was all I did. And I didn't really do anything other than that, except for coke a few times when I was in high school, until I was 20, 21 years old. And then I went from smoking weed to doing 10 to 20 Roxy 30s a day, almost overnight. It was it was a crazy shift for me. It was it wasn't I slowly progressed, to that. So I don't really think that anything anybody could have said, because nobody had any experience with anything, like that. There was nothing anybody could have said or done to make me not deter me from that. Sometimes I'll say this real quick. I will say that I had no idea what I was getting myself into when I started with the pain pills and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like I thought it was harmless, it was just something I was doing because it felt good. I didn't
Mm-hmm.
know that once you did them for a while, if you didn't have them, you were gonna, your body depended on them. I didn't know anything about the physical draws or any of that stuff, and
Mm-hmm.
that might have deterred me. Like if somebody would have said, "Hey, man, like I don't even know," that probably wouldn't have deterred me,
Yeah,
because
no, me, it wouldn't
it's
have
not something I
deterred
had
me.
experienced at that point.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
hadn't experienced it, so I
Mm-hmm.
whatever.
So
What I
how
mean?
was
It's
it?
just
How was it
well,
the
what?
first time you came off it? Like how long were you doing it before you had to come off? Like did Buddy just stop answering the phone or did you try to quit?
Well, see, the way it happened was how I first started doing Roxy's was I used to like, I was like 20 years old, man, and I started with like selling hash. I don't even think hash exists anymore. I don't know. But like I was selling hash, and I had this dude that would always try to trade me these pills. And I didn't know
Mm-hmm.
what they were, I didn't know nothing about them, but they ended up being Roxy's. He was always trying to trade them to me. And I'm like, no, I don't need those. I don't know nothing about it. And then one time my brother was like, yeah, you should get those, man, because we can turn around and sell them and make some money off of it. So that's how I started getting them, was just like trading them and then selling them to other people. I wasn't even taking them. And
Mm-hmm.
then like I slowly they start taking them here and there, and then it progressed into this thing where I met this guy, dude, and I like started really like selling like a lot of pills, and like so it was like a year before I ever like didn't have anything and knew what withdrawal was like.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it was off to the races. Like as soon as I started doing them, I went
All in.
straight into doing it every day,
Yeah.
and did them every day for like a year straight, and
God, yeah.
I had no idea what was happening to me, man, when I was the
Yeah.
first time I was withdrawing, dude.
Yeah. Yeah. No kidding.
It was crazy.
So what finally did it for you? Like how long did that, like you got dope sick the first time. Did you just dive right back in? Like how long of a stretch between then and when you actually quit?
Okay, so when I first started using Roxy's like heavily, was in 2000 and like the end of 2009, beginning of 2010. So that was when I was like 21 or 22, whatever. So that continued pretty much consistently, other than when I went to prison until 2020. Like I had 3.5 years while I was in prison,
Mm-hmm.
like 2 years and some change while I was in prison and stuff like that, and then a little while after I got out where I was clean.
Mm-hmm.
But other than that, I pretty much used the whole 10 or 11 years, whatever that was. And I like lost everything. I got clean, lost everything, and got stuff back, and started over, and then messed it all up again 3 or 4 or 5 times. And I did it. And like I was telling you earlier when we were talking, just me and you, I'm not even gonna sit here and lie. Like when I got clean in 2020, it wasn't because I was like, I want to get clean, I want to get better and change my life. Like that's not why I got clean at that time. Like I didn't want to get clean, and I wasn't ready to get clean. I was forced to because of my health problems that came up. I got a disease, a heart infection, a blood infection called endocarditis, and I ended up having to have heart surgery.